All right, hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. I have this new laser engraver and cutting tool here that I just got a few weeks ago, and I'm going to show you my first-hand experience of, when I first got it, what were my impressions, and then a lot of the products I've already made with it in just a couple weeks time. I have not done any laser engraving or cutting prior to getting this, so this is really my first experience. Now, I am an engineer, I do woodworking, so I would call myself handy. But I'll share kind of my pros and cons I've seen from having this. Now, this is a Creality Falcon2 22-watt laser engraver. They did send this to me for this review, but it is unbiased. This is my own opinion for how it's been doing. Now, it's a fairly easy setup. I'll show you the unboxing with it, and there's not a lot to it. It's almost all pre-assembled. You just basically have to put on the feet of the unit, and then you have to put the laser unit on there and put a couple little ties on the tubing to keep it wrapped up, but most of it is already done. And the feet, they have two different sizes. They have a little spacer, and that's really for a couple reasons, but for me, I needed the spacers because I also have this honeycomb mesh that I do encourage you to get something if you're going to do cutting. If you're going to do just engraving, you absolutely do not need it. It's really for cutting, and I'll get into that a little bit here in a second. Now, the unit itself, in addition to the laser unit and the movement arm, it also has a air pump. Now, this air pump is integrated. It's actually a nice feature of the unit because it gets its power directly from the machine. You don't have to have a separate plug for it. And then it has a adjuster switch here, and that's integrated where in the software, so in Lightburn software, which is a paid software, it doesn't come included with it. It allows you to turn on and off the air feature, and that will tell the unit, especially if you're cutting wood, you want to have it on. So the machine itself is fairly straightforward. It's a rectangle. It's got this arm that can move up, down, and left, right with it. And then the laser itself is height adjustable, so it does include this little device here that you can space the laser off of your work surface based off if you're doing engraving or cutting and how thick of the material that you're cutting. And then it has a couple features here. There's a lot of safety features with it that are really nice. It has both an e-stop, so if anything happens, you want to stop real fast, you just smash down on that red, it stops it. It has a lockout with a key. And then it has a physical switch over here as well. So several different ways to do it. This touchpad here are, they're hard physical buttons, so it's not a touchpad per se, but it works very easily. At first I thought I was going to not like the SD card feature here, where you have a little SD card. It actually comes included with this. You put that in, and it's going to read the G-code file that you export from your software, so in my case Lightburn. And you do have the option of actually plugging in through USB to a computer directly, but I haven't even done that once because I found this actually so easy to just have a clean card and put the G-code on there, plug it in. I hit frame. When I hit frame, the unit goes around with a little light laser, meaning a very low power laser that doesn't do any engraving or anything, and it shows you the outline of the engraving that's about to happen, or the cutting that's about to happen. If you're happy with it, you hit play. If you're not, you can actually adjust the work surface on there while it keeps doing the framing, and then you can come back to it later and hit the play button, and then it will actually start. So that is a pretty easy workable solution. When you get the unit, it comes with this aluminum plate, which is smaller. It's roughly a 12 by 12, I believe, if I'm correct. And then if you get their optional larger honeycomb, this one is like 20 inches by 20 inches. So it basically covers the full work surface, which is roughly 400 by 400 millimeters. I think it's a little bit rectangular, 415 by 400 or something. but you can't quite see it, but underneath that one is a larger 20 by 20 inch aluminum sheet to prevent your desktop or your work surface underneath there from getting damaged. Now, some of the pieces I made here, I just made some custom coasters that were engraved. These are actually going to be 25-year service awards for some of my team members at work. One of my first things I made was this little butterfly. It's actually a flat piece that has a notch in it, so it slides together and makes a little 3D butterfly. That's really cool. And then the other first thing I made was the little default Creality logo guy here. So that was very quick and easy to make. I tried some very intricate stuff just to see how precise it would go, and I was really blown away with how tiny of cuts and precisions this device can actually make. It's very quite cool. I made like a little tag with a picture of my daughter and a friend. Made some other ones here. I even made a custom Valentine's Day card. So this stuff, well, you know, this was not a design out there. I grabbed the panda, I grabbed the bamboo, I added the text in lightburn, I added the cutout, and I just printed it out. So fairly quick and easy. Some of the stuff that I did learn, which perhaps is not surprising, when I first did my first cut with the butterfly, the reason this butterfly is the darker brown, it's not stained. That's actually the oils from the wood, and that's because I cut it directly on the aluminum. It wasn't spaced off, and so that does make the bottom side of the cuts dirtier, and that's why you want the honeycomb. It lifts the work surface up off that, and it prevents that from happening. Now, as far as cutting or engraving goes, this can do lots of materials. You know, obviously I've done a lot of wood here. It can also do leather. It can do very thin metal. It can also do acrylic or plastics out there as well. So those are probably the most common that it works with. For what I've seen though, is that certainly I get a large difference. So the other thing I had here was a gift, a custom gift for one of my daughter's friends. And I went to AI, I went to, I think, Gemini, and had it make this picture for me. And then I wanted to take that picture and get it engraved. And so to do that, I have to make it black and white, or make it either like a line art type thing. So when I first started printing it out, when I didn't do the line, I just did the image. I was getting some super dark coloration in the blue and the red stuff. And then when I went to a different material, this was not supplied by Creality. This was just scrap pieces I had laying around. I saw how different of a printout it was. So I had to kind of tune that in. But once I got it tuned in, this is a piece of pine here. It clearly cut out the picture. And then to my shock, it actually cut this 3/4 inch thick solid pine board. Really with one pass. I did two just to make sure it was super clean, because there was maybe a couple places that didn't fully get cut with the one pass, but this is clearly over the 15 millimeters thickness that they say it does in one pass. So I was pretty impressed with how powerful this 22 watt laser is. And the back side is actually had my daughter handwrite a note on paper, and then I scanned that and had it engrave her handwriting. So you can see here this piece of wood. This is just some practices that I had done on there. Now you can see here, this is the back side or the bottom side of the piece of wood that I cut out, the pine. But you can see how nice and clean it really does do a good job of cutting out that wood. And then just to give you an idea of the level of precision here, this is another thing I'll show you just in a second. This is a layered 3D version of the front of my house. So I had this done, and then I think it's 10 or 11 layers put together to try to make a little kind of model of the house. And this was really impressive, the very finely details that were in this that it did without a problem. And it cuts quickly. It's max speed, I think, is 25,000 millimeters a minute. So that's very quick. So that speed really helps with obviously getting the work done quicker. To give you kind of a reference here, I think this custom engraved coaster here was about 20 minutes for it to engrave that. The cutout of this this whole house layout here. This one was just cutting, it's no engraving. I think it was about 15 minutes for something like that to cut out the whole thing. You know, the smaller stuff you're talking about five minutes max, or you know, something like that to do. So pretty quick to work with. Let me show you the house design now that's all cut out. So also worth mentioning, with the package includes the USB cable for the computer. It includes a little spare parts kit as well as a USB-A to USB-C adapter. It has some extra wrenches and bolts and nuts and that kind of stuff. Then they have the safety glasses so that you can wear those, protect your eyes from the laser, which is obviously important. I will put some links in the video description down below, not only of the product, but also of some of the supplies I got. So the coasters, I cheated with them as well and got blanks for the coasters. I've had lots of other scrap wood I'd try as well. But then I also bought some of these blanks as well, these blank sheets here that are really good for cutting out, and you can, you know, obviously use them for lots of different things. But so I bought some of those just from Amazon. You might have a good local source as well if you look around for some Hobby Lobby or that type of place might have stuff as well. So overall, I really have been super impressed with this. I have wasted a lot of my time coming up with new designs and ideas and getting them cut out because I've been so excited to do it. I really got to focus on other stuff now because I've been really having a lot of fun playing this. My wife's having a lot of fun. The kids are having fun with it. So I do think it is a good product. It does work well. It's very precise. So I don't really have a lot of complaints with it. Other than my only complaint, I don't fully understand why some of these plugs, you know, make it stick out. I wish they would maybe go down, or you could tuck them away a little bit better. They just seem a little bit prone to hitting them. But besides that, that's really my only complaint on the machine itself. So I'm going to show you some tutorials or some things that I've done with the lightburn software of how I actually got this stuff to turn out well. But I'll do that in a separate video so that you can follow along with that if you want to. And then I'll also go into more details maybe on some of these projects and how they turned out, what kind of things I had to adjust, or maybe what type of settings I had to have for them. So if you have any questions in the meantime, please do put it down below in the comments. And of course, give me the thumbs up button and consider subscribing to the channel so you can see more content like this. All right, and so one thing that I will mention is that it is kind of a smelly process. So engraving typically isn't as bad of a smell, but the cutting does create a lot of smoke, and so you want to have it ventilated. Now I actually have a hood that goes over this that helps vent out the smoke and everything, the smell. I don't have that on here, so I haven't shown that here, but that is something that you might want to consider. Or certainly, like for me, I have it in the garage. You definitely would not want this inside the house. That part is very clear. You'd want to have it in a garage or a barn or some space like that, unless you have a really well set up vent hood system that's taking all of the smoke and smell out. So for me, in the garage, if I open up the garage door and throw a fan on, it cleans out that fairly easily, and it's not a big problem. But just know that it is a little bit of a smoky, smelly process. Right.